Hi, everyone. This is Catching Up with the Nerds with your hosts, Tom and JC. This is a podcast about two dads that are catching up on all the nerdy stuff we missed, sharing how we pass on our nerdy passions to our kids, and deep diving into nerdy pop culture to make it more accessible for you, our listener. How's it going, Tom?
I'm all right. How you doing?
Yeah, doing good, man. Like, glad to be recording again after a couple of weeks off.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's been too long. It's been too long. But we're here now.
Yeah. So should we do quick introductions of each other, just for everybody that's new to the podcast?
What again? Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
do you want to start?
Man, you never know who's tuning in today.
I started last week or last episode. I feel like you should go this time around.
Yeah, let's have a go, man. So my name is JC Garay. I'm originally from Honduras, but now I'm living in Portland. Before this, I lived in London. That's where I met Tom. Before that, it was the States. And before that is where I was born, Honduras. I am a dad of an 11-year-old named Aiden and a lovely little girl that's 5 years old named Arabelle, and wife to one amazing woman called Fiorella. And
she's listening, isn't she?
I love all things graphic novels. Totally. I want breakfast after this, dude. I love me my graphic novels. Love my kind of nerdy horror, nerdy sci-fi and fantasy, and I dabble in video games now and then. So over to you, Tom.
Hi, my name is Tom Arnal. I'm the other half of the podcast. I'm originally from France, as you can hear from the accent. Moved to the UK to London 20 years ago, which is where I met JC. Also a dad to two kids, one who's lovely, Emily, 11, and a boy who is getting there slowly. He's about to be 4 years old, Louis. Quite a handful, but he's
one day, buddy.
One day he'll listen to this. He'll be like, "Oh, that wasn't that bad." Yes, you were. Married to a lovely Spanish lady, Elizabeth, who is from the Canary Islands. You know, shout out to the Canary Islands.
Yeah, love that place.
Oh yes, those holidays. I'm very much into video games, anything that has to do with Sony, Sega, Microsoft, even if you want to, and Nintendo. I also love me some good nerdy books, anything that has to do with, especially comics, bit of manga as well, some Dragon Ball now and then. And I think that's about it, And I still like sports. If you heard the episode 2 on PlayStation, we mentioned we like sports. I still like sports.
Yes, we're inclusive. Whether you like sports or not, we're here for you, baby. There you go.
You can be a nerd. And you can be
let's start off with yeah, man. There's nothing wrong with that. So let's start off with just kind of what you've been nerding out about this week, man. What are you into lately?
Oh man, I mean, come on! Like we obviously being in London, part of Europe, for another couple of weeks. We got the release of the PlayStation 5 happening, and what was that now? It's the 19th. So that was it's been a little bit over a week now. And that's what I've been doing. Just literally just playing Spider-Man Miles Morales a lot because I actually beat the game already. To be fair, it's a little bit on the short side, so it's pretty short. What else have I done? Yeah, it's just transferring all my stuff from PS4 to PlayStation 5, which is yep.
Wait a second. Was there a Spider Cat? I heard about this.
Yes, there's a Spider Cat. I actually shared a photo on Twitter of Spider Cat. There's two different bits. There's one bit when you need to go and rescue a cat, which is fine. But then there's doing that you unlock a Spider Cat outfit. Well, it's not an outfit. It's more like what you wearing your Spider-Man outfit, and then there's a blazer on top of that. And you're wearing a backpack, and in your backpack there's Spider Cat. So literally, the cat's named Spider-Man, and he's got it's a little ginger cat with a Spider-Man mask on top of his top half, which is so cute. So I've got a picture up on Twitter. I'll probably put it on Instagram also because it deserves to be there. But it's one great game. It looks absolutely amazing. He plays amazing. The story is actually really good.
Oh, cool.
Nice. So I guess you can probably pick it up for Aiden, eventually when you do buy yourself a PlayStation 5, um, challenge. Yeah, it's worth playing. It's again,
Challenge accepted.
it's a little bit on the short side because it's more of a DLC than a full blown game. So I say, but if you go straight into the main story, you'll do that in under 10 hours. And then because I
Okay.
like to complete the game entirely, so I'm doing all the side missions and other little in games that you've got. So that's going to take me probably around 20 hours to complete. But there's a bunch of games coming out soon, so I wouldn't be worried about not getting my hands on a proper good game just yet. Miles Morales does, it does what it's supposed to do. Oh, that's a good thing. So PlayStation 5 for me the entire week. That's it. So I spent my last 7 days.
Nice, dude. Loving it,
What do you do?
man. Yeah, dude. I've heard great things about the game, so that's awesome. For me, actually, me and Fiorella have been doing a rewatch of Deadpool. We caught Deadpool, the first movie, and then we're just halfway through Deadpool, the second movie. And Fio had never watched them, so we had been laughing hysterically. Like that movie is so infinitely rewatchable.
Yeah.
Um,
So she's not seen the first one.
no, she'd never seen either of them.
Neither of them. Because we went to watch
Yeah.
it in the cinema when it came out. I think it's probably one of those rare times where I actually cried laughing in the cinema. I wasn't
Dude,
expecting it.
Yeah, it's the type of movie that makes you like do the ugly laugh, where you're like almost like can't even breathe laugh. It is so hysterical. And there's other things that I just didn't catch the first time that are just awesome. But the main thing as I was watching it that I kept thinking about is like, this is now Disney property, right? So Disney bought 20th Century Fox, and there's a Deadpool 3 in the plans. And I'm looking at going like, how is Disney going to release an R-rated movie of this level of like raunchy, like very offensive humor sometimes, but that's hilarious. So you're going to get like the nice Disney castle, and then like Deadpool's going to like peer through and then like crack a joke. I just can't see that happening.
If they don't keep the same spirit, the same soul of that film, with pretty much bringing in the same writers and everything, that's going to be a very difficult watch for Deadpool 3. But let's see what they do. If Disney is a little bit clever about it, they can carry on the tradition that Deadpool 1 and 2 already are.
Yeah.
Pure crass, pure disgusting humor, which is awesome. I mean, it's needed sometimes. You can argue that the whole Marvel universe it's pretty, it's made to cater to everyone. Yeah. And Deadpool isn't for the kids really. That's for adults only, and that's really great. I think it's great that we've got it ready to be watched.
Well, and also it's so self-referential, right? It's like it makes fun of itself. It's like, so it would have to make fun of Disney, and Disney doesn't like it when you make fun of Disney. So I don't know how, because you can totally see Deadpool cracking a joke about Mickey Mouse, and that's not going to fly well, man. So I wonder if they're going to release it under like create another production company and like Disney Black Label sort of thing of like they put like their more edgy stuff through there, or they're just going to make it PG-13, which is going to suck.
Oh, that's going to be lame if they do that. That would be super lame if they do that.
Well, they took the R-rated ones and recut them into PG-13 versions and re-released them. So that's why I got a little bummed out.
They called them the Christmas. Was it like the Christmas version? Something like that? Yeah, I think they released it around Christmas last year or the year before. It was just I've not watched it because I think it'll be a bit too. It's just be weird. It's like watching Shark Week on TV, and then there's shark without teeth. It's like what's the point of that?
There's like no blood.
There's no blood. There's no sharks. Just dolphins.
Yeah, they're just swimming along peacefully, getting along. It's like,
here's a turtle. Okay. Yeah. Why?
Alrighty. So I have no good segue from turtle and sharks into what we're going to talk about this week.
No. Well, there's one. We can talk about sharks. We can talk about those companies that are putting out games that are aimed at kids and their wallet or the parents' wallet. There you go. Shark mentality. Boom.
Yeah, it's like there are some games that can be somewhat predatory,
In
and
their behavior, yes.
that's what we're gonna talk about this week. So pivoting on to um, our next mini series right now, which we're gonna talk about Fortnite and why we think it's a bad game for your kids. Um, to put it very bluntly, we are both. We love video games. We love sharing them with our kids, but we find Fortnite to be one of the games that actually kind of stands in between us and being able to do that with our kids. And also, it has some impact on our kids that we haven't been exactly like fond about at all, right? Like we've downright not liked.
Especially you, because I know Aiden's been playing that. Oh, I think was it him, or was it him and a bunch of his friends also?
A lot of people he knows play Fortnite, and for a while he kind of got into it. With Aiden, it was a
Mm.
case of he got into Minecraft and the battle royale games of Minecraft. Which, thank you for saying that, because that's actually the broader topic that I do want to like
Yeah.
dive into, right? Which is like where Fortnite is the headline, but the substance under it is more the battle royale format, right? And whether your kid plays Fortnite or they play Apex Legends or they play PUBG or they play like, for example, like Bed Wars on Minecraft. That's the one that
Mm.
Aiden used to like. Um, there's definitely some problematic aspects of these games, right? And it's within the actual format itself and the way that these games are being designed that cause a few issues. Because we're definitely not on the bandwagon of all video games are bad. It's like it's
No.
the exact opposite, right? It really is one of our ways that we share. We as we talk about the thesis of this podcast, how we share our nerdy passions with our kids. We both love gaming with our kids,
Mm.
but there's a way of doing it that feels constructive and useful and like enhances the relationship versus something that's very one-sided and it's just about like and we'll talk about this later, but like the constant satisfaction that comes from this format. It's a case of how does it allow, well, actually let's go to the actual point of this, right? It's like what's the thesis of our episode, and kind of what I wrote down earlier was like Fortnite limits your attention span by rewarding short-term satisfaction over the delayed satisfaction of a story-driven game, right? So we talk
Yeah.
about like immediate gratification versus like having to invest time and then getting that gratification at the end of the game are two very different things, right?
Mm. Yeah, I think that, I mean there's the attention span. There's also, I think there's a couple of things we'll touch upon, which is also the financial side of the monetary
Yeah.
side of those games. Also, there's especially when it's um, being shown and being introduced to young kids who don't have the concept of what money is. Also, you can sort of, you don't really, you can spend a little bit of money on your kids, and they can, from time to time maybe spend a couple more pounds or dollars depending where you are, and that's okay. But then there's a whole financial aspect to it that also, as a parent, feels a bit over the
Yeah.
top. Feels a bit like it's not warranted. When you want to play video games, it shouldn't really be in there. But yeah, attention span.
Yes. So we're gonna structure this miniseries so that this first episode is all about like the research that we've done to kind of help you educate yourself about what are some of the challenges with games like Fortnite, like Apex Legends, like Bed Wars, and Minecraft. So we're gonna share some of that knowledge with you so you can kind of have a better idea of what are some of the things that we've seen in terms of behaviors and even research carried out by universities around this. But then we're going to dive into kind of our second, third, fourth episodes into recommendations of like other video games that you can try to get your kids steered into or play with them that allow you to move away from some of the bad behaviors we see around battle royale format games. So
Most story-driven games, I think.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
the
Or
that's the
co-op
key.
games
Or
where
co-op
you, where
games.
you get to play together over kind of a story-driven kind of
Yeah.
format. So yeah, let's dive into the research, shall we?
But so I think we'll start with talking about the battle royale kind of mode, um, games that are out there. I think there's a lot
Exactly.
of very famous one through the history of battle royale mode. There's Apex Legend, I think we've mentioned a lot. PUBG, Overwatch, Call of Duty. Now with the new Warzone mode they've released
Oh
last year,
yeah.
which is free to download, and obviously Fortnite. Fortnite is the biggest name in, I'll say maybe in video game at the moment. Still the hot property of video game.
Yeah.
But Fortnite is really where it's at right now, especially for kids. I think Warzone is maybe Call of Duty Warzone is more aimed at older teenage kids, adults, but
Yeah.
Fortnite is really where younger generation will be. Maybe the under 15, under 14. That's where they'll be spending most of their time. And Fortnite is really the king of battle royale. So battle royale is those. What is battle royale? It's literally a, a game of what, 15 maybe minutes long, 10 minutes long, 15 minutes long,
Yeah.
where you need to survive. You need to be the last man standing. So basically,
Correct.
you're dropped on a map on an island, and you need to be the last man standing. So that map is getting smaller and smaller. The circle around the map
Mhm.
reduces with time as time goes on. So you've got um, you get a warning that within the next 3 minutes the circle is going to reduce, and you need to be within that circle, otherwise you're out. But obviously, as part of that, you need also to be careful with other players that are out there trying to kill you,
Yeah.
and trying to steal your stuff. So that's what
And
Fortnite is.
and that map is very key to the whole dynamic, right? Of that is what sets you onto a timer of like this game will end no matter what, because the map keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah,
Because when it first came out, my point was like, how's that different to like the one v one mode on Halo, or even one back in the golden eye days where you're doing like the 1v1 trying to find the other person and they would hide and then you have to try to shoot them. I was like, what's different? And that really is the big dynamic, that it forces you to progress the game very quickly. Like
yeah,
you can't hunt around for someone for a really long time. It's like it's gonna happen in the next 15 minutes, right? And that's huge.
yeah. So the really the I mean, apart from the financial aspect of the game, I think what this does, having those games, that one mode, game modes on repeat, is really, especially for a young brain that is still developing, right? It's really messing up with your attention span,
Yeah.
and how long, the ability of one, in that case, child, to concentrate for a longer period of time, and how does that impact their young brains? It still impacts. We still suffer from attention span, short attention span. Even now as adults, those research I've done, it showed that back in 2000, the
Yeah.
average worldwide attention span was 12 seconds. 12 seconds. And it's reduced now to 8 seconds,
Oh
which
my God.
means that most of our listeners have now already given up and packed up, and they're not, they're not concentrating on anything we're saying. So we're trying to bring them back with something interesting, like saying that we are now have a short attention span than a goldfish, which has been calculated to be 9 seconds.
This point of the episode where we do like have like our equivalent of the red wedding. Like does someone just need to be killed off the episode in order to make sure that everybody's still paying attention, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because it's you see that it's shock TV, because if something super big doesn't happen within the first 30 minutes of an episode, you lost the audience, right? It's like
yeah.
it's got to be something big, and you see all the shows now do it.
Well, all the shows nowadays, if let's say you're watching something that is crime related, or something, something with detectives or whatever, the first scene will always be the same. It's always be the same setup now, where you have a something quite gruesome happening, like a horrible crime, within the first minute and a half of the show, because they have to hook you up. You've got to be, hook you into the storyline. It's now, if you remember watching this old TV, like especially again, those cops shows, nothing would happen in the first
Yeah.
5-10 minutes. It was just f- probably sexist jokes, and a little bit of racism in there, but they'd be just
Because it
two
was the
guys.
90s, and why
It's,
not?
yeah, 90s also, but it wouldn't be nothing that tragic, nothing that the massively brain blowing moment um, attention catching moment that you would see within the first 10 seconds of a show, because maybe people were a bit more, used to a different rhythm back in the days. So it's quite interesting. So there's a few reasons why, again, according to the article, I'll put a link somewhere in the description. If you're on YouTube, it'll be below in the comment section. So one of the point for our attention span regressing was too much information being thrown at us. Um, so that also in turn, having too much information, obviously now you've got, you can get information online, social media, on TV, obviously watching the news, radio, whatever it is, your phone right now you're checking. It's like, this it's
Yeah.
coming from all angles. And
Yes.
also, it's interesting enough, it's got the ability to physically influence your brain, literally alter your brain and the way it functions. As it showed that there's less gray matters entering parts of your brain that is associated with maintaining focus. So
All right.
yeah, it's very interesting. So literally, you can go. Let's be a bit sensational here and say like social media, for example, is something that is physically changing the way your brain works
Yeah.
in a way. Which reading that, I was like, whoa, that's a bit crazy. And again, reading that took me a while because my attention span is so shit that I had to start over and over and again reading the article. So I was like, well. So there's a bunch of numbers they're throwing at they throw at you in the article, which like for example on Facebook, once you scroll down your wall, you only
Yeah.
would pay 2.5 seconds attention for to an article or a photo or whatever somebody will post on there for 2.5 seconds. That's a very, very, very short. So if you multiply that attitude and the attention you pay to something, 2.5 seconds for your friend Bob's post, you're like, okay, cool. You don't even read it, you don't even bother about it. Go down to the next one, to the next one. So you're literally retraining your brain to only pay attention for a little bit of, tiny chunk of time at the time. And that would be why our attention span went down from 12 seconds to 8. So you've been retrained to assimilate a lot of information, um, and also
Wait,
not really. Yeah.
and there's no coincidence there that remember when Vine was around? Vine was what, 7 seconds? I
Vine, I
think.
believe it was 7 seconds. I cannot remember exactly, so I wasn't
Yeah.
really into it. But I think you're right. I think it was extremely short.
So that in itself is proof right there. It's like there's no coincidence that that's the number they picked. There must have been some research around the amount of time you can hold someone's attention. And then we're seeing it again with what's it,
TikTok.
the platform? Yeah, TikTok, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Only TikTok is a little bit longer form ish, but still, I mean, I think they're
So TikTok,
still. I think I wonder what the
TikTok,
average is, but I would think they're about 15 seconds average.
TikTok is slightly different because I don't. It's not really in terms of the content that that you're watching, because TikTok can be, I think, um, it may be 15 seconds videos, but I think the average is 30. But you can go up to a minute.
Okay.
I think TikTok. The issue with TikTok is that you can literally you can flip through an endless stream of content. Like
Oh
after
yeah.
a few seconds, you literally go no, bored, and that's why I'm not really massively into seeing my kids on TikTok, because it's like it teaches them just to I'm bored. Next. It's that next function that really is that bothers me. Whereas you would sit through an entire TV series, like an episode or a movie before. Now it's just like there's part of
Correct.
of episodes and movies that are boring, but eventually you'll get a payoff for it. Um, with what TikTok does, it's just like, well, I don't like your face, I don't like what you're saying, or I don't like what the video looks like, I don't like the music you use. Next. It's never ending content coming your way that you can just skip endlessly. Also,
Yep. I was looking it up right now as you're saying that. Apparently, TikTok videos initially were 15 seconds long, and then they
yeah,
were extended to 60 seconds. which is interesting, right? Because even like 60 seconds feels like, whoa, like super long. And like, it isn't.
Is
Right. And then when you consider Fortnite, that like on average, your point is like it takes 10-15 minutes to complete a round. That plays in as well, right? When you're talking earlier about Miles Morales and how that
mm,
game takes 10 hours to complete, that is the perfect kind of like analogy around it, right? It's like 10 hours. And you to your point, that's a short story driven
it's
game.
short, yeah.
And you're still exploring like the 20 hours worth of side missions versus like imagine playing Fortnite every 15 minutes for 10 hours in a row. Like just even looking at that, like what that does to your brain, it kind of like reminds me of like those 80s commercials of like, this is what your drugs are like on I'm sorry, this is what your brain is like on drugs. And they crack that egg and they fry it. And I'm like, it feels like it's a little bit like that, doesn't it?
But see the thing with Spider-Man, for example, is that it's story driven, so it's fine. If even if it's on the short side, I don't really mind it because it's it can be it's like a comic. You would pick up the those really thin comics that come out. Um, it doesn't have to be, the story doesn't have to be super long to be interesting. But it's I think the problem with Fortnites and games like Fortnites is just that it's the repetition of it. It's
Yes.
the same thing again and again. Like, okay, you can argue also that in Spider-Man, well, I'm going to that corner of New York. I've got to go and beat up that guy and then grab something. But it's not all of that. That's a fragment of what the game is about. So it's
Correct.
more about trying to see how your character is growing and how they resolve conflict and how where that's going to lead. And obviously, no spoilers here, but the game is opening up to Spider-Man 2 or 3 or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. There's going to be another Spider-Man game on PlayStation 5. Don't know when, but
Oh, for sure.
it's clearly leading up to that.
I'm voting for Spider Gwen, man.
Oh yes, yeah.
That should be the next
I,
one. That'll be awesome. Not knowing anything at this point.
no.
But no, but and so that creates kind of like that different that contrast, right? Of like a story-driven game we've talked about, and that repetitive battle royale format. Now, this is kind of like for a minute. Let's step into like JC's history corner.
Yep.
Um, there is a through line there that I found that I think is really fascinating, right? And it goes back to where battle royale games started. And if you look at it in terms of like where the inspiration came from, where we have now Apex Legends and Fortnite and all these games, they were all pretty much inspired by the Hunger Games in a lot of ways, right?
Mm,
And I think one of the first battle royale games was PUBG. You were telling me earlier,
yep.
and for me, in my head, it was always Fortnite, but it sounds like PUBG then influenced Fortnite, and then that influenced Apex Legends, and we got all the spoofs of that basically, which you find in Minecraft and Roblox. You can go into Roblox and play an entire Fortnite game. You can go into Minecraft and play games that are basically Fortnite, only that they're
Yeah.
called something different, right? But the Hunger Games kind of inspired that. And for anybody who's not familiar, Hunger Games is like this series of like they were basically like teenage books aimed at teenagers. They came out in the early 2000s that eventually got so big they got made into movies, and there's like 3 or 4 movies about them. But even Hunger Games was inspired by a Japanese movie that came out in 2000 called Battle Royale, and
Yay.
it's a super ultra violent movie,
Yep.
and it was always meant to be more of a social statement around what can happen when you put kids into a certain setting, right? And it kind of goes back from that point. You can almost say like that takes inspiration from Lord of the Flies and all these things about how we lose our humanity when we're put in certain situations. So for me, the really interesting thing is that we wound up with a game that actually has a very limited, it promotes a limit in attention span, but it was inspired by a movie you have to sit and pay attention to for what it be like an hour and a half. You have to then read the Hunger Games books, which will take multiple hours. You got to watch those movies. Once again, take multiple hours, but then we wind up with something that you can just digest in 15 minutes. And to me, that's like it's such irony in that, and hopefully that helps people to kind of understand a bit more
Yeah.
where kind of the origins are about the battle royale games. All right, so let's dive into some of the research that I did as well. One of the things that I decided to look at was what does it actually mean for this to be a problem, right? And so I looked up what is a gaming disorder. And it's interesting because there's actually some politics around the actual idea of having a gaming disorder. Because, well, once again, we're both here to say that we stand for video games and we love them,
Mhm.
and we think they can be really great as far as like building a bond with your kid and having fun with them. They're absolutely awesome. And the more that we as parents decide to like dive into their world, the closer we can get to our kids for sure. But there is some things that we also need to be aware of, right? And the World Health Organization, which we've heard a lot about lately,
Yep.
don't know why, um, has defined a gaming disorder as a pattern of persistent or recurring gaming behavior in which people lose control of their gaming behavior, give priority to gaming over other interests, and continue gaming despite negative consequences such as impairments in their family relationship or social lives, right? So and they also go on to say that it has to be a pattern demonstrated for more than a year. So if like
All right.
someone has like, if they get hooked on Fortnite for a couple of weeks, it's not considered a gaming disorder technically. But where it gets political is that the like the some organizations within the U.S. that look at the same things uh, don't actually, and I believe it's the Center for Disease Control as well, because they do look at mental health diseases as well,
Sure.
not only COVID stuff. They have not actually recognized it as an actual disorder, right? And then other countries have the same thing, where some countries don't recognize it as an actual disorder, right? Yet there's such a connection between that and gambling,
Yep.
and other types of disorders that way. So that's why I thought that like defining that, how gaming disorder can happen, it kind of leads us into what I think is one of the key issues with the battle royale format and the way that it's being designed. And this can be designed not only in battle royale, to be clear, but in a bunch of other games. We just feel that it comes across in a battle royale game a lot more, and it's how designers build in dopamine hits within the game.
Mm.
What are dopamine hits, right? Every time that you pick up your phone and you start to scroll to see what's going on Facebook, what's going on Instagram, and then you get that moment of, oh wait, look at what Tom's doing. He went out to the Parkless family. Oh man, it's a good day there. It's a crappy day here in Portland. I wish I were there. That's a dopamine hit. Like you just got some satisfaction by knowing something about somebody else, right? And
Yep.
that can come in numerous ways, like whether it be like you want to send direct tweets at Donald Trump, to like whether it be support or hate. It's like you get a dopamine hit by engaging
Why
with
would you
someone
do that?
exactly at that level of power. But there are literally millions
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
people doing it right now, and just getting the hit of like, because they're not actually accomplishing anything, but still we have like, I told them off, da da da, and
It
then
does feel good.
you get, yeah, you get a sense of satisfaction from it, right? And that's the dopamine hit. We get it from candy. We get it
Mhm.
from eating, but we can also get it from like media, right? It's like when you watch a movie you really like, you get those dopamine hits, right? The difference is how you get them and how often.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And like Tom, you set it up really nicely where you talked about the attention span, and I believe the attention span is the symptom, but the cause is the dopamine hits behind this, right? It's like, why would you have a short attention span? Because you get this like short-term satisfaction over and over again throughout the game. And maybe you want to tell us a bit more, like what do you feel are some of the big dopamine hits from Fortnite that where kids get that satisfaction from the game?
Right. So let's to answer that, let's really talk about what you'll get from let's call it a Fortnite session, gaming session.
Yeah, exactly.
So Fortnite is what we were talking about earlier on, which was, you get into your game of battle royale, you get landed onto an island,
Yeah,
and what the whole point of the game, when it started, obviously now there's been multiple seasons of the game. Each season is usually themed something. Right now I
yeah,
think it's uh, um, Marvel universe, so you get
yeah,
Iron Man and all that stuff. Anyway, that's beside the point. The normal session would be, you do your thing, you're trying to survive, you're trying to grab weapons from other enemies, you're trying to make your way to the end of the 15 minutes, 20 minutes game, get to the number one spot. What that would get you is like every single game, shooting games or first shooter, what's it called? FPS, first, no, FPS, first person shooters,
yeah,
where you will grow and get as many kills or as many coins or how many boxes as you can get, and then you get up in experience levels, and then the more experience you get, the more things you unlocked. So being that weapons,
Yeah.
like we talked before, dances,
Yeah.
Fortnite dances that are extremely famous, but you also can unlock cosmetic items, like items of clothing, a hat, trousers, new shoes, whatever that may be.
Yeah.
And then obviously the ultimate goal is to get to the highest level of experience. So I can maybe take you back to Call of Duty, which I do play sometimes. When
Yep.
you can get to the highest level, which is 155, and then once you get to that, well, the only thing you can pretty much do is, apart from growing your character, is to unlock more weapons and a bunch of stuff like that.
So there's
So
no end. Effectively,
so
there's no like end credits of like roll credits. The game is over. You've achieved your final goal. It really is just about status.
yeah, so it's mainly about status. It's mainly about what number you got, how many kills you got, how much money you've collected, how many things you've unlocked. Um, there was a fake ending to Fortnite. I don't know if you remember that a couple of years ago when
Really?
they did a Bing Bang in reverse, where everything got sucked into this black hole. Every single character, so they killed everything for 48 hours, and people freaked out. But what they did after that, they recreated the universe, they relaunched everything, which was pretty. To be fair, that was pretty creative and badass. That was really cool.
Okay.
And
I'll give him that. That's a pretty cool.
Yeah, it caught people off by surprise big time. Like suddenly you see everything getting sucked off into that big black hole, and you're like, whoa, where's my character that I spent so many hours, you know, developing. Um, so yeah, that's there's no end to the game. It's just
Yeah.
an endless loop, if you will, of let me trying to grind um,
Yeah.
endlessly. Again, I like that word. To get to the max number. Again, I'll talk more about Call of Duty on there. It's just like, for example, now I've reached the maximum level. Playing a game doesn't really feel that special anymore because I've got nothing else to unlock.
Yeah.
But I still get
Exactly.
a bit of a dopamine hit because of I can go around and try to get us more money from a game than
Yeah.
like collect more money than and opening more boxes than the other players and trying to get to finish first. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. And you're there to like, it's more for a feeling of playing the game rather than being invested in it intellectually, right? Of just like, where is this story heading to? It's just like you're there for a feeling. Yeah, no, dude, I totally relate. And because even just looking at it peripherally, right? How it makes kids, the behavior it drives. There's kind of two stories that I came across. Like one, I was coaching soccer this past year, and I was talking to one of the other coaches after a game that we'd played before, and we were talking to him after a game, and we'd seen the players before, and one of the players was just like miles better than the previous time we played. And I was really surprised. I was like, hey, look, what's going on? Like I'm really happy. Like that kid's doing really well. Like he played really well today. And he's like, dude, you never believe the story. What happened with that kid? He's like, I was talking to the parents, he said, and I was having a huge amount of trouble coaching the kid. And then the parents told me, like a couple weeks later, that they had found out that he was actually hooked on Fortnite to the point that he was taking money from his parents' purses and wallets to buy stuff. So there was it the V-Bucks or whatever to like buy stuff on Fortnite.
Mhm.
And once they found out, they basically banned Fortnite in the house, like absolutely banned it. Even I think banned video games for a while, and then just like leaned into playing board games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the coach told me that the kid within like a week had a completely different attitude towards practice, like just miles different, and just became this like awesome player for them. And he's like, I gotta be honest, I think it was kind of due to Fortnite. It's like the kid put in a hard work and stuff, but just he had his attention back at that point. So yeah, and so the other thing is like I also see it with like for example, like for a long time, Aiden, like anytime he talked about dancing, it was a Fortnite dance, right? And that's not him only, like all his friends, like if you see them out like just like hanging out, eventually within like a game of basketball or a game of soccer or something, they'll stop and do a Fortnite dance out of blue. And if you were to take those same kids and put them on a dance floor and say like go out and like dance with someone, they wouldn't know how to do it. They would just keep doing like all sorts of Fortnite dances in sequence, one after the other, right? And but it shows like the gratification they get from it, right? It
It's
like it permeates their life as well, like the
it's
gratification they
it's
get from that game.
it's interesting because the dancing bit that you just mentioned is it happened also to when I used to go and pick Emily up from school, for example, like year six, at the end of last year. And yeah, all the kids, all the boys are just in the courtyard, just dancing, doing Fortnite moves, dance moves.
Yeah,
And like, yeah, I mean that's that's great. You're dancing, but the only moves you guys know is the what's the one, the backpack kid or whatever it's called.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, there's
The
more.
floss.
This the floss. That's the fuck. You see how old I am. Um, and it's like okay, that's fine. It is really having an impact on their behavior, which is
Yeah,
very interesting, to say the least. I also have something quite similar to what you said about a change in behavior. For example, Emily's got a phone, right?
yeah,
We've given her a phone now because she's walking to school
yeah,
in year seven. So we've told her, text us when you get to the school. Just say just the same text every day.
yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm there, or I've made it to school. The
And
walk is
and
not that
and
far.
and
Yeah.
and to clarify, that's seventh grade for the American audience.
All right, cool. Um, so we've told it's a 2 minutes walk, and I said, just give us a text when you're there, so we know that you've made it. You're fine. She still goes with her friends, so she's not alone when she walks that 2 minutes walk. But just for peace of mind, we told her. Um, anyway, that phone, the battery died about a month ago, and I was like, okay, maybe what should I do? Because it's an iPhone, like it's not an easy repair. It's not something I can do because anything that if you try and repair an
Oh yeah,
iPhone, it's doomed. So I went on eBay. I get another one, and I've eventually found something on eBay that was quite cheap. I didn't read the description well enough, and said the phone is dead. Like it'll turn on, but then within the next 5-10 seconds, it'll die. I was like,
yeah,
and so we got the phone. It took about 3-4 days to turn up, and those few days where she had no phones at all, it was actually quite interesting because her behavior changed totally. Of instead of being on her phone talking to her friends or being on a call or being on TikTok or whatever it is that she was doing on her phone, like suddenly she started paying attention to stuff around her again.
yeah,
And watching long form TV, watching
yeah,
episodes like 45 minutes long episodes of, even if something like fashion related or
yeah,
cooking related on TV, but like no more TikToking like minute long, 30 seconds long videos. And it was quite interesting. So suddenly you had this complete change from being glued to the phone for too many hours,
yeah.
to actually being engaged in conversation again.
Yep.
Eventually, the penny dropped, and I went, oh, actually, I can just go to the shop, which is on the main street here, and I can just go and get it fixed for like £20. You get the battery changed, and it takes them half an hour to do. And I didn't like, I literally, when you're trying to fix something, and like suddenly you're like, oh, I'm so dumb. There's a shop that does that. I walk past it every single day. They can just change that battery in no time. Um, and I got that done. But then, yeah, reverted into that behavior again of being on the phone on WhatsApp and doing stuff like that. So
Yep.
technology can have it's, you have to balance everything. You have to make sure that you keep it all in proportion. You can have it for a couple hours, but then you have to pay attention to the rest, to real life around that phone.
Yeah. And then we get into like to your point, it's like how technology influences these behaviors. Like that kind of thing gets us into kind of one of our next topics,
Mm.
which is around kind of the money aspect around this.
Oh yes.
And to kind of like kick it off, what we're talking about is there's actual monetary transactions to my story about like that kid that was using his parents' money to buy stuff for the game. You need to actually put in a card or like a gift card or whatever it may be to be able to buy stuff in the game. And there's no shortage of things they're going to sell you. Like,
Yeah.
and there was a very interesting study about, in particular, about the loot boxes that show up in games like Fortnite, and it was carried out in Belgium because actually Belgium, uh, they carried out a study to figure out across games like I think they put in Call of Duty Online that you mentioned you were playing, Apex Legends, and interestingly, Star Wars Battlefront, which I didn't really feel like that game felt in the same way because that actually has a story. But I think there's also like a different mode. There's like a battle royale or like 1v1
Yeah.
mode in
So
Battlefront.
Battlefront. So Battlefront is it's not actually a single game, as in like a story-driven game. The Battlefront
Mm.
series is it's not about battle royale. Also, it's a multiplayer game. So you're just on a map and you shoot people.
Yep.
I think also you said that Belgium. It's not actually a study. It's more of a lawsuit that happened in Belgium,
Yes. Yeah.
where some people, similar to your story, where somebody, I think it was a kid that ran up his parents' credit card.
Yeah.
Like you're talking like a huge amount of money where he spent on, I believe it was on FIFA, the football game,
Yeah.
soccer for you guys. Um, and he used the credit card details so often. I think there's something like 25,000 euros in debt, something like that, before they realized how much cash he spent on it. It was huge. So the Belgian, I think a judge in Belgium banned loot boxes in games like Call of Duty, what was it, Apex Legends, and Star Wars Battlefront. So Star Wars Battlefront, for example, that a very good example for it. Um, you could, with your experience point that you gathered and grinding the game as it's called, you spend hours, and then you would be able to unlock a couple more characters, right? So
Yep.
they calculated, I think, that you needed to spend something ridiculous, like 1,000 hours on the game to have enough points to unlock Darth Vader and Princess Leia. Or you
Yeah.
could
That's
pay,
right.
or you could pay a loot box, and maybe you get to unlock Darth Vader and Princess Leia.
And that's the point that led actually right that's the point that led to the research I was mentioning earlier, which
Mhm.
is York St. John University, but multiple universities and institutions around the world are carrying out research around the connection between these loot boxes and gambling,
Yeah,
right? Because it's like you're hoping you're going to get what you need, and then so it keeps drawing you back for more. So it's got the same dynamics as a slot machine. At the end of the
yeah,
day, it's like you're hoping for that to happen, or you're working to your point. You're grinding just to spend your money on something that is, whether it be an outfit or a dance or a weapon, something that just enhances the game but doesn't really contribute in any way to a storyline or to your attention span. It's like that's why you're there. And a great example, let's say for all parents, definitely go check out the movie The Social Dilemma. It's a documentary on Netflix. It talks about exactly how these dynamics happen and how it could lead to very destructive behavior because these games and apps are designed to be monetized. They are designed. There's a reason why they're free, right? At the end of the day, because they will make money, and they're not going to leave it to chance to make money. It's kind of like at the casino, the house always wins. And
yeah.
in this case, it's like you might have gotten the game for free, but you're still forking over your money to the development houses that create these games. And there's something very, I find at least very disturbing about that, about how that leads to that behavior. Because then if you think about it, our kids, they're going to be playing this. To your point, they're going to be on their phone as well, on things like TikTok that have this instant gratification. And then it's like at some point they're going to be introduced to gambling, right? And then that's a problem. Or they're going to be off to uni and they've got nothing to do. So I'm going to pick up some really bad habits when I'm at uni because I no longer have anybody to supervise to tell me not to do things. So teaching them to have a longer attention span, super important.
But also, yeah, I think the monetary aspect of this
Yeah.
is quite important because you need to educate your kids to understand that this is this is wrong. You know, because the way they, like you said, that you're being hooked in, like, oh look, dad, this game is free, and you're like, oh yeah, that's cool. If you don't pay yourself too much attention and you have that much knowledge into the topic, it's like, well, okay, it's a free game. You know,
Yeah.
that's fine. But again, like you said, there's a reason why it's free. It's because after that they'll try to recoup that cash in
Yeah.
selling you things. I mean, to the point you were making, like loot boxes and the ability of buying content bef- has been in video games for the last 10 years, give or take. Like my example I was giving you earlier on was NBA 2K, right? Where you
Yeah.
could just buy a pair of sneakers, but the difference is you would get what you paid for, right? So you'll say, I want to buy those shoes, and those shoes maybe comes into a package, which is a shoe, a jersey, a hat, whatever that might be branded, a Jordan branded package, but then you know what you're getting, which is fine. Because if you say I'm gonna spend $5 on that box, you're getting that. You know you're getting
Yep.
it. The issue is, and that's where they draw on the line is okay, saying, you know, you're gonna pay £5 or $5. You don't know what you're gonna get. You might get the rarest character of the whole game, or the rarest weapon, or the weapon that's like level 1000,
Yep.
that's gonna crush everybody else in the game.
Yep.
But you can also get some absolute crap from that
Yeah,
box.
exactly.
Useless stuff that maybe just cosmetic, that are not that rare, that is very common in the game. So if the one of the issue, which is also between gamers that we've seen, it's people with deeper pockets. That's also this kind of a side thing there. There's people that like to grind a game and spend the hours and getting to the highest level,
Yep.
and having all the weapons and stuff like that. But there's that now. There's a lot of players that just say, okay, you know what, I'm maybe 25. I've got a job. It's fine. I don't have time to spend 1,000 hours trying to unlock everything. I'm just gonna buy everything.
Yep.
Unlock everything now. I'm just, maybe I paid for the game. Maybe the game was free. I'm just gonna spend $100 and unlock everything now, and be the boss the game right away. And that's also in itself, in terms of in terms of ethics, gamer
Yep.
ethics, it's also another issue. So again, that's very quick, easy, satisfactory results. It's like you pay, you get
Yeah.
up the top of the queue, the top of the
Yeah.
pile right away, and it's like instant gratification with no
And
effort. And that's something that if you teach that to your kids, you say, well, you might suck at that game. Hey, let me get my credit card out. I'm gonna pay $50. Bang.
correct. And more importantly, like they will be able to hold that over their friends. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
my parents gave me 60 V-bucks or whatever it may be, and then the whole thing becomes socioeconomic, right? Whereas like kids whose parents can't allow them to have that, all of a sudden it's like it feels really like a situation where bullying can start to happen,
Yeah.
right? Because like I got the money to spend, I can beat you all day, and it's really bad because I've seen some of those interactions between kids when they talk about Fortnite, and dude, it can get really cruel super quickly. It's actually really impressive, like how much they can make others feel excluded
Yeah.
that aren't necessarily part of the game. So yeah, man, that's why, and to kind of like move into kind of like our conclusion, as a parent, like go spend the 60 bucks, go spend the 50 bucks, go spend the 40 bucks on buying a game that's story driven, then going like, oh yeah, Fortnite is free, right? That's good for the kids. It's free. No, you're going to just be paying it in so many other ways that aren't even tangible right now, but they will become very quickly once you see how behaviors change and so forth. So spend the money, get the games. So, but if you're asking a question like, what game should we get? That's what we're here for. So the idea is in the follow-up episode, we're going to give you some options of games that we feel we love, that we love to play with our kids, that we have a great time hanging out, and that we don't feel have the same incentives. We feel like there's a dopamine hit for sure throughout the game, but it rewards you staying there for longer, or it
Yeah.
rewards you playing together, right? It gives you that definite satisfaction. So we will be coming back with more recommendations on those. But up until then, we're signing out. So just want to say thank you to Tom for coming up with the idea for this podcast and reaching out to get this done. Thank you to also whoever designed our logo. That's looking pretty slick these days. And thanks to Tom for doing a ton of editing and really like bringing the Instagram game as we are trying to promote the podcast.
Well, we're trying to get that dopamine shot from the social media. That instant gratification. Oh god. Yes, thank you all for listening to that episode. We hope to catch you into the next few ones, I say.
Sweet.
Goodbye.